So I'd like to give you an overview of the geography. Always important. As you can see, Essaouira kind of sticks out as a little point into the Atlantic Ocean. And it has some fortified areas and it sticks out, and they built kind of a jetty of sorts. And there's all kinds of fishing. And that's a pescador, a magador, that's a fish market. And then there's the long beach. And you can see that goes down again along these arrondissements done in a French style. So you got the French, the Arabic, the Spanish, and you get down the beach and you can see where the water comes in at Diabet. This is a little village. The place now, there's a golf course there, but in those days, it was a little or nothing. Because 50 years, a lot happens. I didn't spend all my time with other tourists. I would go around and check out things myself, or we go with one person and go down by the docks and meet with fishermen who would fry up little fish and offer us things and kind of kibitz with us and make jokes with us. Hey, you come in here, we like you. And one of the things that was really neat about being there, in particular with these fishermen, was they had things with Steve McQueen on the walls of their little fish hut. And our culture would show its bumping up and mingling with the culture of Morocco that was in so many ways so foreign to that Western American culture, but the movies made it. Another thing that made it to Morocco, even though the dominance of the Moroccan music was incredible, the flutes, the drums, and the odd sounds of the Islamic chants were pervasive. But you'd get to places where you'd hear like Otis Redding. Oh, and yes, Motown. That was an incredible thing for me, being a Detroiter, that when I came to this exotic place, that there were many times when I'd bump up against Aretha Franklin. Wasn't strictly Motown, but she was from the city, of course. And even more than that, the real Motown groups, they were known far and wide at this point. Even in these places where the culture was so pervasive, the culture of Detroit, Motown music, Berry Gordy, the Supremes, Stevie Wander, had made it into these exotic places. And I was very proud of that, frankly. So in my travels, sometimes things got so interesting and exciting, and even it could be something that wasn't so active, but the whole milieu, you felt like you were in a movie. This Essaouira was really that way. It was like, I have seen this movie before, and now I'm in it. It felt like that with Eileen. It felt like that with meeting the people, the guys from New Zealand, the guys from here and there, the people coming, going. They were characters right out of central casting. And I, Stevie Wander, got to be, in my opinion, the star. I have a little bit of a schmaltzy personality, and it's like I reached out and people tend to gravitate towards me a little bit. So I felt like I was the center of a wondrous constellation of people coming and going. Me and my gang of 6 or 7 of us, we were staying in this house. We found a house where they had a big room, and they said, hey, a group of you could stay there. And we all chipped in some money, and we lived communally. We were actually eating together. We'd go out to the market and buy various things. Well, this was giving me some problems, frankly, because I was not a very good eater, and people were like rutabagas, and I didn't know what the hell they were, and other kinds of things. So this was a challenge for me, and frankly, I started getting kind of bitchy, if you will. It's like I would say, I don't want to go along with this and that, because it was just getting on me. It was like so intense, all these people around me all the time. Yeah, I'd go off and wander around sometimes with my sort of girlfriend, which was kind of ridiculous, but it started to get a little bit confined to me, thinking, hey, you know what? Somehow, some way, this cannot keep going on, because I came to be free and to wander around and be a big hippie, but I didn't come to live with these 6 people in a room someplace forever. And besides, it was getting cold. One thing you don't really understand about North Africa is that in the wintertime, it's not warm. This is not south of the Sahara Desert. This is north of it. And if you look at the proximity of it, it's not that far south. And yet I knew I couldn't stay there forever. And I didn't want to go down any further because it just seemed too crazy. I didn't know where the hell I was going. So I kind of started getting this idea that, okay, I got to get out of this place. I'm going to go across North Africa. And I started talking to one of these young ladies by the name of Nancy Thompson. I said, hey, you know what? You want to go across North Africa with me? And we started talking, even though I had this other girlfriend. And I didn't really have anything going with Nancy, but I said, yeah, you know, we can hitchhike together or travel together and it'll be cheaper. She said that's a good idea. We started formulating this idea, but I wasn't quite sure what I was doing because first I had to kind of get rid of Elaine. My last entry in my journal in Essaouira was Tuesday, December 8, 1970. And I write, my life is really blowing in the wind, and that is too much for my stoned head. I'm thinking a lot about the people I left behind and how they have all gone off in so many directions. I feel like I am growing up and growing old. But here I sit in Morocco and I am really responsible to myself. The people I left behind are really minor characters here to me at this time, in this place, just figments of my imagination, not real anymore. Well, I know I am not returning to that mythic home for some time. I will just keep on keeping on down the road, which gives me some months to figure out the secrets of life before I return home, whatever home means. I just want some peace of mind. Tomorrow, I will be off into another world, going into a different direction. Who knows? Being in Essaouira, Morocco, was me running away from the life that I was living in America. Running away from a time of turbulence, a time of insanity, where Richard Nixon was the president and men of my age were being drafted left and right, and the streets were on fire. Cities were burning. Presidents were being shot. It was a time of turbulence, and I was in a place of peace and solace away from the turbulence. And it cannot be overestimated how bad things seemed at that time and how by me being on this travel, I was avoiding these problems, running away from the world. So there was a lot of, light drugs, sort of heavy drugs, all kinds of drug things. It was the 60s into the 70s, and even though it was already 1970, it was really part of that crazy time. We did opium tea. We had big pipes with hashish in them. We would smoke the keef. All of a sudden there was some LSD came around. And I'm thinking, uh-oh. I've had some rocky trips with it already, but, I'm a hippie and I got to keep trying, I guess. So it gets to a point where Eileen and we decide to take this acid. And even though I'm thinking of bailing out on her, I said, what the hell? So we're in the house and it's starting to get crazy there. And there's all kinds of intense things going on. And the craziest thing is I'm up in this room with Eileen and we're with the local people smoking a pipe and doing all this stuff. And we're starting to come on to this LSD. You know what I mean? So Eileen and I sat together in this room in the Hotel Central, somebody else's room. Somebody actually was occupying it by the month. And we read a book, an art book, and we looked at pictures and we talked and spoke, and it was starting to get dark and it was time to leave there because we didn't want to get caught in this room and because it really wasn't our room. Kind of stole the room from somebody in a way. And we started going out on the street and Eileen, I'm kind of coming down a bit. Eileen is sitting freaked. she starts saying my name all the time. Steve, Steve, where are you? I go, oh shit, what is going on? We started walking towards the water. We're down by the beach and it was a moonlit night. And the next thing I know, Eileen is walking out into the water. And she's saying my name and ranting her arms. And I'm like, is this lady kind of wacky? She may just keep on going. I started getting scared. So I got to rush out there into the water, out to my waist, and grab her up, start trying to engineer, get back. Let's get her back. Got to get her calmed down. We go back and we're back on the beach. And she's still freaked out. She has not come down for this trip. I had pretty much. And the next thing I know, there's a bunch of 6 hippies get off a bus. It's midnight or something like that. And I'm shepherding them back to our room with Eileen. Oh my God, things just keep getting crazier. And although my sort of girlfriend had freaked out pretty well on me and really wasn't doing very well, I had decided, no, Steve, you're not taking the hit on this one. It's time for you to bail out. And I was nice, but I was not going to be trapped by some lady that freaked out, because that was a movie I wasn't going to play the role in. So I started getting involved more with Nancy Thompson from Washington State, and she's the one that we were planning on hitting out of town. And I kind of sort of snuck out on her a little bit, but I said goodbye. She came to the bus, and we took a bus back to Marrakesh. And that was the end of my incredible 2 weeks in Essaouira, Mogador by the sea. A romantic, crazy, wonderful time. So now with the end of week 8, we're going to give you a little preview of week 9. That is getting out of Essaouira, Morocco on the Atlantic Ocean, still with my skin on, but hardly, and taking off on the way to Marrakesh with Nancy, a blonde lady from Washington State. And we get to Marrakesh, spend a couple of days, do some work enjoying the place we'd already been to and getting our visas and going up on the Marrakesh Express back to Casablanca. Spent a couple of days there, again, getting visas, money transferred, things of that sort. Then we hitchhike to Meknes and Rabat and finally get to the great city of Fez in the north, where the fantastic market is. So we'll pick that up in week 9. Thank you. My acid trip settles down into a mellow groove, but Eileen is starting to freak out, literally freaking out. It's evening now, and it's dark outside as we walk down to the beach. Steve, where are you? Where are you? I'm standing right next to you, I say. Where are you? Right here, I repeat, as I reach out and grab her arm to reassure her. She pulls away from me and walks into the ocean, still calling for me. I walk out in the water, trailing her, afraid she might drown herself. I need to watch over her, as she may be a danger to herself. Eileen is now up to her waist level, and I'm starting to freak. There's nothing but bullshit melodrama in this situation, and I feel trapped by her crap. Damn it. Come back, Eileen. You don't want to be out here. This is dangerous. She is crying uncontrollably now. I'm at a loss of what to do. I tug on her arm to come back to shore with me, but she won't budge. She's just standing here in waist-deep water, crying. Then she suddenly falls back into the water and goes under. I dive in after her, but she is kicking and punching, fighting me off. Holy shit, she may try to kill herself. I dive back in and wrestle her out of the water. We both gasp for air, breathing heavy. She stops fighting with me finally and allows me to lead her to shore. Still crying and near hysterics, I walk her to the communal home and tuck her in her sleeping bag. She reverts to acting like a baby girl as she talks in baby language to me like I'm her daddy, tucking her in for the night. My plans are set now. I'm leaving in the early morning before anybody wakes up. I've got to escape from Eileen.